Welcome to Trekdom, your live stream ritual.
Holding Trek space for
Black, Indigenous, Brown, women of color,
queer or otherwise,
and our allies.
Hi, I'm your host, De La, and today I'm holding Trek space for anybody dealing with emotional hydrocarbons while engaging in spring cleaning, decluttering, or familial anti-hoarding interventions.
I am your co-host, Claudia, and today I'm holding Trek space for reaching justice through gaining context.
Hi, I'm your co-host Maya Mama, and I'm holding Trek space for watching those last few minutes of this episode a few times. It's okay. I did too.
Hi, I am your guest, Latisha, and I'm holding Trek space for dealing with your own emotions while lending grace to others.
Very nice. Well, welcome to the Trek Table. We start with acknowledging that our teams for Trek Table are on the unceded lands of the Tongva, Chumash, Quiche, Ohlone, Puyallup, Pawtucket, and Massachusetts peoples. We are grateful to the Indigenous stewards of the lands, the ancestors who have come before, those who are here now, and those who have yet to come. I invite our listeners and viewers to be in acknowledgement of the lands that you are on. Let's go ahead and take a breath in and out.
Yes. And I want to say thank you to everybody for joining us today. I took an extra second in that land acknowledgement. I was just present because I'm so grateful that you are here with us today holding Trek space for women of color. As we dig into this episode, we want to say what's up and welcome to all our friends in the chat on our Trek Table YouTube channel, as well as everybody listening on the podcast. Hey, everybody.
Our opening track for this episode is titled Chicana Skies by the band Quetzal off their album Quetzal. You'll be hearing several tracks by Quetzal throughout this episode of Trek Table. Follow them at Quetzal Music on Instagram and see our show notes or the chat for a link to their merchandise and more.
Hi, and welcome to episode 46 of the Trek Table. We're so excited to be here. Thank you all for showing up for this conversation with women of color. We've assembled today to talk about this finale of episode 13, season 4 of Discovery. And I'm so excited. My tech is glitching behind me. So don't be surprised if all of the things come down and we're getting to the rawness of this finale. We're super excited to welcome back Latisha Jones. Thanks so much, Latisha, for joining us. And of course, all of you listening and viewing to us. We're so glad to have you join us here at the Trek Table. All right, we've got a great episode today. Here at the Trek Table, we are going to reflect on, dive deep into episode 13, Coming Home, written by Michelle Paradise and directed by Olatunde Onsunsamni. So if you are looking for an unspoilered disco experience, we invite you to pause and leave and come back because spoiler zone is in full effect. We had to give you that sound effect. We were talking about all the alls today. So if you're not ready, pause and come back. We'll be here for you.
Now, if you're new to the channel, don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you're a listener and a fan and appreciate that Trek Table brings you different perspectives and points of view, we invite you to continue to support this space by visiting the Trek Table Patreon.
We're so glad that you're joining this Black, Indigenous, women of color Trek conversation. Hello and welcome. So that we can build with each other, how do you enter this conversation as a Star Trek fan? Are you Star Trek curious? A newbie? Are you an OG Trekkie? Do you come from a Star Trekking family? Star Trek femme? Star Trek zaddy? Trek baby? Let us know in the chat.
All right, and today's episode of the Trek Table is episode 46. We are diving into Star Trek Discovery, season 4, episode 13, Coming Home. I'm going to say it as many times as we need because this is the finale of season 4. We are so excited to jump into this episode and explore it in a couple different ways. We're going to get those Trek Table questions from Claudia. We've got our fun little version of disco recap. Claudia's back with fashion freestyle. We're about to see how that goes. Maya Mama's got lots of things on disco design. I'm going to braid it all together in thematics. We're going to get into a little bit of Star Trek shenanigans as this season ends. And of course, we've got signal boosts, final thoughts, and gratitude. So that's what's up on today's show. You're going to see these segments up on our screen. We're so excited to make it here to this season finale of Discovery. And what an amazing roller coaster all season. I know we're going to come back as Trek Table. We're going to do some thematical deep dives. The holodeck is like malfunctioning all over the place. But I just got to say, I am so amazed that we didn't have to have major space battles. And I still felt like we had one of the best season finales of a Star Trek series ever. And I'm just going to say that's true for me. I can't believe that through all this thing, only one person died. And I think it's hilarious that his name, I don't know, I'm not going to make fun of people's names, but I mean, come on, one person, come on. So I hope y'all saw it because I don't want to spoil this. All right, look, I also want to just say I'm so excited that we got to ride through that closer and that none of our fam bam died. We got to see Tilly, like all the things. So there's so many things for us to talk about. Thematically, I think we're going to jump into the women's leadership arc that we've been on. We're going to talk a little bit about this justice, of course, the healing and growth that people are going through, and this thematical topic that I'm calling found familying. I'm curious if we can make found family making a verb that people talk about. So we're going to break this down, see what this finale has for us. And we're so excited to jump into this. And just before we get in, this last two parts of our practice, we want to know who's at our table. So you've heard us kind of check in at the top of the show, but now I really want us to jump in, say what's up, say who's at this table, where we're coming from. So Latisha, you've been our guest a couple times. We're so glad you're back. I'm going to ask you to go first today. Your name, your pronouns, visual description, access check-in, and then that question that Claudia asked us right before the break. How do you identify as a Star Trek fan?
Absolutely. Well, thank you for having me back. I love being at the table. I use she, her pronouns. I identify as a Star Trek fan / poly sci-fi nerd. Disco is where I've primarily been getting my sci-fi fix lately, but I am excited for Picard, Strange New Worlds, Lower Decks, and I was really delighted to finish up Prodigy recently. Visually, I'm a youngish looking 30-something-year-old Black woman with a multicolored scarf over my head and a black t-shirt with a quote from Disney's Robin Hood on it because it is a wonderful underrated 70s cartoon. Yeah, that's where I'm landing. Happy to be here again, back at the table.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm going to invite Claudia to go next. Claudia, can I have you check in?
Hey, hello everyone. This is Claudia. Pronouns they, theirs. You can also use she, her. Visual description: African American woman, big brown afro. I'm wearing a red Starfleet Academy shirt, and I am sitting on a projection of the original Star Trek deck. Although I'm realizing this is like original TOS, I might want to get myself some Strange New World backgrounds. And my access check-in is that I have full allergies. I was about to sneeze so loudly in the middle of something someone was saying. I was like, grabbing tissues wildly. So you might see a tissue on camera. And I also am in the midst of a flare. So I'm disabled. If you see me pull a face, it's because one of my muscles is pulling me. It's not because I'm pulling a bad attitude about your Star Trek opinion. And I identify as a generational Star Trek lover. It comes in my family. And I'm poly sci-fi fantasy.
Yes. Super excited. Thanks, Claudia, for being here. Always. What's up, everybody? I'm Dela. My pronouns are she, he, they, and Dela. Visually, I'm a mixed Filipinx, bigger body, butchish looking woman. Today, I have my Holding a Grudge t-shirt on. So for season finale.
Need it.
So yes, wearing that today. Also, my hair got cut, so I realized like maybe the holodeck is misinterpreting my hair also. So it's all kinds of fun things. Access check-in. I was sharing earlier, I did a little bit of cleaning this morning, so I feel a little, the emo hydrocarbons are in the air right now. And I will say, yes, I am definitely a Star Trek fan from OG and Next Gen. But Discovery has my heart. It's in my core. It is my favorite Star Trekness. And I am poly sci-fi, but disco is my primary right now. So that's me. And finally, to close this out, Maya Mama, can I have you check in?
Yes, I am Maya Mama. I use she, her pronouns. I'm a youngish looking 40s Black woman. I'm wearing my TNG style science uniform shirt. I got some Rainbow Galaxy makeup. That was the only way I could think of to describe it. It's got purples and blues in it and some glitter, shiny lip. I have a blue headband with insignia on it, Star Trek insignia, and some reddish hair with a curly wave. I am from a generational Star Trek family, and I identify as non-hierarchical omni sci-fi.
Okay, thank you
Get
so
no
much.
specifics in.
Yeah, get that specificity. You know, the thing about Trek Table is we love the specificity, and we ask this question about who we are, how we show up, not because we're trying to gatekeep, but because we want to welcome the holistic viewing of ourselves, right? We want to honor and celebrate. And if you're listening on the podcast, there's a lot of, oh my gosh, people in our visuals are like, yes, yes, yes. So if you are in our chat, if you are listening in on the podcast, please feel free to let us know, who are you? How do you enter this space? We want to meet and talk with all of our friends and fams who are interested in this work. All right, so I'm super excited. I'm rambling on, but really we're here. This is the last set of business, and we're about to jump into this finale. All right. So this final bit of business before we jump into our discussions is we're going to name the Trek Table agreements. We want to welcome all who enter, whether you're a newbie or you were raised in a Star Trekking family. We want to say welcome. Let's build this space together.
Whether you use Trek Table as your nerdy exploration or as part of your self-care ritual, Trek Table is a weekly space to put down the world for a second and come into Trek space.
This is a space for brown, black, indigenous, and femmes of color to be a fan, a nerd, a geek, and to explore the vastness of the Star Trek multiverse.
And Trek Table is also a place for allies to come and engage and explore as well. This is an opportunity for allies to hold space and focus on insights, perspectives, and experiences that we or you may not be familiar with.
And now that we are all gathered in here, we remind you that we seek to build an environment of mutual respect and listening. We understand that we're going to disagree, and that's actually part of the fun, but there's enough conflict in the world. Let's keep our phasers on stun.
Great. Let's go ahead and breathe in all those agreements. I'm going to invite you to plant your feet flat on the floor. Take a center. Let's go ahead and breathe those agreements. Go ahead and breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. Thank you.
And now that brings us to our first Trek Table question posed to our Trek Table assembled here and to all y'all participating in the Trek Table YouTube channel chat. All right. I was so nervous this episode, y'all. I thought everybody was going to die. Who did you think was going to kick it this episode? Welcome back with our Trek Table question. We've got a video, we've got a visual of Linus there. And who did we think was going to kick it this episode? Everybody's lives are in danger. Last episode, we had folks getting set up for danger. You know, you had characters saying, oh, when this is all over, we're going to go do these exciting, fun plans in the future. Whenever a character does that, that tells me, oh, the writer's about to kill that character off. You have a character being like, let's just talk about let's just talk about our memories and how happy we are and how we're satisfied with everything we've done. I'm like, oh no, Tilly, Vance. So I was having so many feels. So Maya Mama, who did you think was going to kick it this episode?
Yeah, there were a lot of 3 days till retirement conversations, but I would say that besides, I mean, I knew that Torkelson was going to die. Like that I absolutely thought he was going to die, you know, other than, you know, because he didn't because he was never going to be held accountable for the harm that he did. And his death was supposed to redeem him, I'm sure, storyline. And frankly, I was bummed that he died because it just didn't feel like justice.
Ooh, I hear you. I was fully convinced it was going to be Stamets and Culber because they were like, we're going to go on a vacation. And I was like, they're going to get hit by a random thing. The episode's going to set me up and think everybody's good. And then they're going to get got. I thought the showrunners were playing with my heart. Latisha, who did you think was going to kick it?
I thought it was going to be Ndoye. I really did. You know, there was just like all this setup for like this, like this will be a suicide mission, and then you had like the moment of Detmer coming up and panicking, and just, I was worried for her. Yes.
I was really shocked that it seemed like it was a sacrificial redemption arc for Ndoye, and then Oyo was able to get it back. I was like, oh, good for you, Wusakan.
Mhm.
Dela, who did you think was going to kick it?
I mean, I will say, prior to the episode, I wasn't sure. I didn't think they would kill anybody, but and then we got in the episode, and I fell for a bunch of things. Like, I fell for the Detmer look. I fell for Burnham, like, doing the steely, like, I need a really good pilot. I'm gonna send you out there. And Detmer was like, I'm gonna rise from my center and say yes to the call. And then Owo was like, what? And so I'll just say this. I really hope the showrunners give us proof next season. Like, can we see Owusu-kun and Detmer have a little tender moment alone? Like, for real, not this like insinuatedness. Like, I really want to see straight up. Because that look, I was like, Owusu-kun is having way so much.
Yeah.
So yeah, I also believed I believed Book was dead, based on the whole Burnham scene. Oh my god, everybody, all that. But I will just say I really went in just really hoping Reno didn't die, because I know that actor is busy and just all the things.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever. So I just feel like I was in it all episode. Like, are you about to? No, you can't die. Are you about to die? They can't kill the space daddies. Oh my
They're
god,
so
what if they do?
smart. The showrunners are so smart because they're writing for jerks like me who are
Yes.
paying attention to the actors and their other projects. And I'm so smart. I'm like, oh, well, obviously they can kill off Tilly. That actress has decided to do so. And I'm like, they wrote it for us. I love that they set me up and filled me with so much tension this episode.
Mm-hmm.
And that was Trek Table question number 1.
Trek Table is brought to you in part by Outside In Theater. Outside In is an evolving force in equitable and transformative storytelling. For more information about Outside In Theater, check out their website at outsideintheater.org.
And with that song Matanzas by the band Quetzal, we know that it is time for the Discovery Recap. The game is simple. We collectively have 2.5 minutes to tell chunklets of plot along all the major storylines from this week's show.
Trek Table, get ready. We are going to be retelling the entire storylines, all of the storylines from Star Trek Discovery Season 4, Episode 13, Coming Home, written by Michelle Paradise and directed by Olatunde Osunsanmi. Whoa!
Brandon, can we please have 2.5 minutes on the timer? And go.
Incoming transmission.
Okay, so I'm going to start with Tarina and Saru. So Tarina, she's like really concerned about like making a commitment because she just doesn't think she can concentrate on work. But Saru empathizes with her and says that like he did the same thing, but he believed that it dulled the brightness of his days, which is like such a great line. And then she takes his words to heart, and then at the end of the episode, they confirm their affection for one another, and then they go off and clip plants, if you know what I mean. And then, I mean, they were clipping plants. There's literally a scene of them doing it, but then also we see everybody going off and taking plants and going camping, and it's really awesome.
Okay, so we have the results of Tarka sending the message to Ndoye and the cell thing that's come out. So Book and Reno are trapped in their in the cargo hold, essentially watching Tarka just mess everything up and keep on doing that. They have a heart to heart where Reno's like, "Hey, guess what? I can actually contact Discovery. That's what the like workers for." And he's like, "Oh wow, you're so smart." She's like, "I know." Then they knock something over. Turns out to be Grudge's collar, which you can do it and kind of get them out. And Reno's looking like, "You really want me to go through a cat door?" And he's like, "Yeah, it's an escape. You're welcome." So they use the collar, which can break the which can break the holographs and all that, and they use it to knock out Tarka, and then get control of the ship. Then Burnham is on Discovery, like, "Hey, who let out the nacelles?" And she's gonna put all the people like, "Hey, who did it?" And Dory comes out, was like, "Ah, yeah, it was me," and they solve their problems.
Okay. So, Tilly, back near planet Earth. Admiral Vance is in charge of everything because Rillick was like, "You be in charge. I'm gonna go talk to these 10C aliens." And Vance and Tilly are trying to save everybody, and it is all hands on deck. It's Tilly and the cadets. The kids are trying to help out. Finally, Tilly and Vance, they stay to let everybody else escape, and like they think they're going to die, and they're drinking their last drinks and having goodbye words with each other. But then they don't die. Yay!
And meanwhile, this whole episode, we've been trying to communicate with the 10C, but they don't want to talk to Burnham and Discovery till they can figure out that that one is not this one. And then there are billions of ones, and we all want to be a one and with you. And then at the end, everybody has like a Lord of the Rings fellowship.
That was it.
That's all that happened in the episode. Nothing else happened. Question,
Nothing else that was
Dayla.
exciting.
No.
Is it important to name the other major events that happened, or can we just encourage our audience to read a recap somewhere and then they'll pick it up in the context as we're chatting about everything? Stacey Abrams. Sorry, I have
think
to
we
say
get
it.
one.
Stacey-
Say it.
it happened. I couldn't help it. It came out of me. I was trying to be quiet. Stacey Abrams. It was awesome. It was so cool. It made me so happy. President to Earth. At the very end, President Earth's on, and it's Stacey Abrams, and it was an awesome moment.
Thank you. The only other button I would add is the justice arc for Book, and he is not punitively being punished. He is restoratively engaging in restorative justice practice, transformative justice practice. So lots of things for us to just talk about. I feel like those are the major plot points. I would support what Claudia said. Friends listening on the podcast, watching us live, feel free to go find your favorite recap. We continue to love this show so much, even if we can't recap it in 2.5 seconds. And that was Disco Recap.
Fashion. Freestyle. Fashion. Freestyle. Describing mini outfits. Fashion. Freestyle. Fashion. Freestyle. Describing mini outfits. On track table. Fashion. Store. Fashion. Freestyle. Describing mini outfits. On track table.
Y'all ready for a little bit of fashion freestyle? In this segment, we are going to be reacting to the amazing designs from Star Trek Discovery off the top of the dome. Y'all haven't seen these pictures, neither have I. Let's get into it. We have images that we will be exploring, and you know what? I'm going to kick it off since this is experimental. First image. Give me that first image, and I'm going to freestyle commentary. Ooh, Stacey Abrams looking fly and gorgeous. We have got some beautiful formal wear from Starfleet. We've got some gorgeous Nehru collars, a cape, and that hair is looking laid. And you can't really see it in this picture, but her earrings are these gorgeous silver sort of rings. They're very beautiful. Yes, that is looking good in the future of Earth. And now we're going to go to our second image. Maya Mama, you're going to be coming up on deck describing this gorgeous image of more future fashion.
All right, so yet again, we see lines looking towards the future, lines of proud people in their blues and their maroons. Everyone's all dressed up. I'm loving Rillick's outfit, that blue color. I don't know why, but like it really speaks to Starfleet because it's the same color as the flag. And boy, is Saru tall. And that hat. Also, that hat.
Amazing! Thank you for describing those gorgeous images, Maya Mama. Next up on deck is Latisha to describe some Star Trek fashion. Get ready, off the top of the dome, describing the beautiful fashion of Saru and Trina, and go!
Okay, so we have Saru and Trina being like casual, partners making it work. I'm loving like the softer fabrics. It's not as tight, and you just get this gentler tone with both of them. Not as formal, and just it's just beautiful. And can we talk about Saru just looking so at home with the plants, and just like it's again looks like more natural fabric, just perfect.
Those look comfortable and fashionable and professional just a little bit. Hey, Dayla, you're up next for our next fashion freestyle. This next image that Dayla will be describing is we've got Tilly and Admiral Vance celebrating the end of the world as we know it.
Yes, yes. So here we got Tilly in her full dress, Starfleet Academy instructor. Is Tilly the dean yet? I want to know. Like, who's the dean of the academy? So here's Tilly. She decided to pull a very disco thing and stay behind and make sure Vance wasn't just by himself. What I love about this fashion in this shot is we get to see how the formal wear works for Vance, and we actually get to see the asymmetrical coat open all the way, and just the way that we get the lapel drops. You see his badge. And even though Tommy Torkelson is the one who gave them this whiskey from Risa, I believe, I'm gonna give props to the flask action. I was curious what their sips were like. It just seemed like the flasks never ended. So yay to the future of unending flasks, like Mary Poppins' bag, maybe.
Yes. And just a shout out to all of the amazing looks. I am spelling that Lewks that came this season. We got high fashion. We got grubby looking looks. We got a lot of outfits that I would love to wear in everyday world. Nice work, Gersha Phillips. And that was Fashion Freestyle.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much, Claudia. And hey, are you interested in previous episodes of Trek Table? Do you want to see some of our previous reads on fashion? Maybe previous segments? Check out who our hosts and guests have been. You can find all those things at trektable.com.
Welcome, welcome to Discovery Design. We've seen some beautiful and amazing design elements in this episode of Discovery, so let's dish. All right, Claudia, let's start with you. I want to start with revisiting that bar lounge party space again. Now I want to talk about, like, we've been very particular in choosing elements. Is there anything specific that you like really popped out for you with this?
Well, I've seen a lot of Star Trek bars throughout all of these shows, and I'm always my eye is always looking out for futuristic looking drinks. So I loved that the first drink was full flames. I was like, nobody can drink that. That's just a cup of fire. And then there was another group of people who were literally just drinking smoke. It was full smoke. And then the next scene, you've got Saru and Michael Burnham, and they're just drinking water. It actually looks like what Michael Burnham is drinking is invisible, which is just like the height of future alcohol. That's my kind of bar.
Yes, and so what I was saying was that I was really thinking of that when you were saying invisible drinks. I was thinking of Guinan sprinkling that dust into the drink in Time's Arrow, but yeah, I was just thinking about like being a fun mixologist in the future. That'd be super cool. Latisha, let's move on to you. When we finally arrive on the planet of the 10C, I was just like, it's so grand. Would you like to share any thoughts that you had about that?
Yeah, just the scale of it was incredible. Like we hear when they're coming down that there's like thousands and thousands of life forms, but when we see it, it's just like they're so huge. It's awe inspiring, really. But you can't, what Burnham does, you have to get over your awe and you must communicate. And then seeing Book and his like empathetic powers be activated and reflected in these massive beings that they're really getting it. It's just like a visual confirmation of communication, even with this like huge, again, scale size differential. It's just it's amazing.
Oh yeah. I still expected them to like come out and look like dinosaurs, but I mean, that didn't happen. But I don't know why. That's what I was thinking. They're kind of coming out
Y'all, they
looking
were
like
giving me
dinosaurs or
they
dragons or
were
something.
giving me Georgia O'Keeffe vibes. I'm just gonna say.
Well, Dayla, I want to talk about that Christmas ornament space station. Now for me, I got vibes of like the ivory tower in the Neverending Story, like dun dun dun. What about you? What were you thinking about it?
Bastion, save That was a deep dive to Neverending Story, friends. I don't know.
Say my name. Okay.
Exactly. Oh my gosh, all the things. Yeah, can I just say that when I saw it, I was like, okay, so that's Federation HQ flying, or is that I wasn't fully clear what that was. Like, I just want to say, it looked to me when I first saw it, I was like, oh my gosh, is that like the top, the swirly top of Gandalf the Great's or Gandalf the White's staff from Lord of the Rings? We feel like there's a lot of Tolkien today, but there's that, and then also like it looks like a cutaway Christmas ornament, like someone tried to 3D print it, but it didn't go all the way. But then I gotta say, like, okay, so I had judgment about it. But when they stopped, and then all of a sudden Vance is like, so when the floor is full, just go. And it was like Jenga. It was like
For sure.
space level Jenga. And I was like, that, especially because in season, was it 2 of Disco, we had to watch a full ship, what is that called? Evacuation, and the way they had to do all the slides and stuff. So I just want to say yes to the design upgrade of like a whole floor of a space station could just leave. I thought
It's
that was
nice to
really
see. Yeah, it's definitely nice to see that they actually made improvements in the future to their
Yeah.
designs. Audience, what disco design elements resonated with you for this episode? Let us know in the chat. And that was Discovery Design.
And that brings us to our next Trek Table question number 2. Y'all, this is the future. How was Jet Reno missing for so long and no one was seeing this? No one was noticing. We need to have a conversation. Let's get into it.
Mira que regresa el maldito. Viene con las manos llenitas de piedra que no quiere arrojar.
Now, welcome back with Trek Table question number 2. Y'all know that this is something I like to harp on. I bring this question up, I think, for every single Star Trek show I see. How was Jet Reno missing for so long? But also, how does anyone disappear on these ships? Don't they have sensors? Can't they tell things? This is the future. So I'm just curious. I'd like to have a large conversation about some science, and we can do a little speculation. I'm going to start with you, Dela. How do you think? How was it possible that Jet Reno was missing for so long?
I mean, I think my first answer is just at a Zora level. Zora had the fuzzies, and Tarka figured out a way to dull her senses. But it also made me wonder, if you don't have a family or a life partner on the ship, what is your check-in points? I don't know. I've never been in service, so I don't know if you, as a crew person, especially because Reno's an officer and has their own quarters, right? Maybe they don't share. So I just have all kinds of those logistical, like, what is the life of Reno actually on the ship?
Wow.
Mm.
Yeah, and like those closest to her, they all had the same answer, which was, well, we're really convinced that she's doing something really important right now because that's what we're all doing. Latisha, what's your take on this?
I feel like Jed's just a really epic introvert, and just after being by on her own for so long, that she does have a tendency to just disappear and reappear. And it's just one of those people where you're like, I haven't seen her, but this is part of her rhythm, still show up. So I feel like it wasn't that people didn't know. I mean, and they didn't know, but it was like, when you know someone's rhythms and they can kind of reappear and disappear, you're like, oh, they must be in a disappear phase. And so that's what I think.
This is making me feel a little bit better about surveillance culture and Star Trek. Like, I'm thinking, like, what would it be like to live in a machine that can see you and can know you? Well, one of the things you would do is be like, hey, machine, don't look at me when I'm changing when I'm getting changed. How about we make that something that you can't ever see? So I'm like, oh, there are things that aren't ever recorded. Like think of, like, in contemporary society, we're thinking of like CCTV and cameras everywhere, but they don't have cameras on that ship. The only way that she was findable with that was her communications badge. Speaking of communications badges, Maya Mama, what is your take on this?
Well, I was really feeling it. As a middle child, I feel that Jet Reno is the middle child of the fam bam. I mean, everyone was really busy, and Stamets was looking for her, but he couldn't take all day. And there wasn't like nobody said there was a problem, but like, trying to save the whole galaxy and making first contact with the species, it doesn't communicate, and they have to create and they have to get out of the bubble thing, and like, I mean, I think mostly they were like, where is Jet? we need her right now, and this is annoying more than anything else.
Can I ask a
Mm.
question? Did you or anybody else get excited when they did the intercom announcement of Reno
did.
and we got the cross in the shuttle bay?
Yes, I did.
I was like, so functionally awesome.
I just find it funny being like, yeah, we should page her. I'm like, we're paging.
Well, that's I mean, like I think it's like in some ways because they're anti-surveillance culture on that ship. That's how you.
Mhm.
It's full of agency for the person. If you don't want to be found, you can avoid being found.
Mhm.
I guess I don't know. I think you also are making some good points where Tarka was messing with the sensors, right? Well,
Mhm,
thank you
mhm.
for indulging me because I was trying to figure. I was like, this is the future. How's she going to be missing? Come on. So thank you. And that was check table question number 2.
And if you are enjoying our show, don't forget to like and follow us on Instagram at Trekdom or on Twitter at Trek_table.
Check out the upcoming schedules and past episodes at trektable.com.
And now we invite you to move your body with our thematics dance break. Star Trek dance moves. This is the Saru. The Saru.
A ship to move, a surge we
Big spot.
feel and manifest. Slide from uncertainty and launch into intent. Interminable imaginaries guided by ancestor strength. Abide by no one's government. We below into the left more. We see more. Whose life is this
All right, and welcome back. This is the thematics part of our show where we like to braid it all together from these conversations we've been having today from our different segments as we've been diving deep into Star Trek Discovery Season 4, Episode 13, Coming Home. All right, so we've seen a lot of things this season. The goal is not to recap this whole season, but I just want to say I appreciate thematically where we have landed in this Discovery episode. As I talked about at the top of the show, lots of things floating around in this episode, in this arc. We're going to explore a little bit about women's leadership later in this segment. We're also going to talk about some of the justice arcs that we've seen, as well as the emotional healing parts. I was just thinking that last Trek Table question, and props to Culber for being able to look down through the grate and find Reno's badge. Like,
Mhm.
come on, Culber, with those eyes, like all those things. And then the last topic I'm curious about, as I mentioned at the top, is just I'm curious about the way in which Discovery creates found family, and is found familying or found family making a helpful verb in these times. So lots of things we're gonna jump into. I just kind of want to get started. We saw a lot of these arcs happen, and a lot of action, a lot of narrative, but it wasn't a traditional disco or even Star Trek season finale, right? So Claudia, I'm going to invite you in here. Your thoughts on what we got in the season finale, season finale, and all the things.
Well, really, what is tradition in a
Mm.
show that has this, like a franchise that has this many varieties and permutations of itself? I feel like actually this final episode reminded me of some of the things I loved about old school original Star Trek. Like it was giving me like that episode where they have to travel back in time and make a really hard choice. I'm trying not to do spoilers for very old Star Trek episodes. And I'm like, yeah, that had time travel and personal decisions, but it didn't have any bad guys. There weren't enemies in it. It was just really compelling drama with high stakes. I'm thinking about my favorite original Star Trek, which is The Voyage Home. I love Star Trek 4. That's my favorite movie. There aren't bad guys. They're trying to save whales. There's humor, there's stakes, there's hijinks, there's fan dancing. You gotta love it. So I feel like this episode gave me all of the beats that I would expect from a traditional finale ending. I cried, I laughed, I was full of tension, and I was full of release. It was awesome.
I'm so glad that yes, it was awesome. Thank you for that. And I appreciated you walking me through that to help me realize, I guess that's also why I like Star Trek, because it's not always going to be the same thing. It's not always going to be a space battle where we have to blow each other to smithereens. It's actually going to be a variation, and that's why I am a fan of this multiverse, you know. I love it. Okay. So that sets us up for this next conversation. This is going to kind of be a little bit of crosstalk for all of us. But, you know, we've seen a lot of arcs this whole show about justice and harm and how to take accountability. We had back in episode 3, you know, Javini and Mama Dr. Sister Burnham came back, and we got the whole how do you be accountable to that harm that was caused? She murdered a Starfleet officer. We got things around the examples and the planet and people who had been incarcerated wanting to be accountable. So we get to this big point where species 10C has to be accountable as the species that has been doing this mining that then accounted for the harm that Book and his family and his planet experienced. And then we also hear Book talking about the harm that he realizes he caused. And like my big shout out to Book is that he goes back to Burnham and he says, and I heard myself and I did you harm and I'm sorry, boo. So I see all the nods. For those folks on the podcast, there was a whole lot of finger reaction in our visuals. Everybody's about it. So come on, that's what's up. So let's just talk about it. How we feeling about the way that this justice arc went, how Book became accountable, and the 10C. I just want to open it up. Who wants to jump?
Well, it's Rillick herself who says when her and Burnham are hanging out, she says, well, we've come a long way since the first time that we talked here. And they talk about, you know, that first episode, the Kobayashi Maru conversation, and the way that they were able to, because they are on the same side and they have the same goal, and to find a way to honor each other's choices and each other's thoughts. And I just I was really glad to see really realize that reasons matter.
Thank you. Somebody else? Other
I
thoughts about this?
loved the apology. Like, and what I loved was that they first did what I would call the neoliberal apology, where they're like, oh wow, immediate, our bad, we won't do that anymore. And Book's like, no, you need to not only not do it to us, you need to start doing it to everyone. And then they said, oh, we get it, we did great harm, and we're going to make it better. And I was like, that's how you do an apology. You can't just be like, my bad, and move on. You have to acknowledge and at least let us know you're going to make amends, face amends.
I want to double down into that, because when, you know, Book hears like what's going to happen, he's like, that's not enough. And there's this look, I think Saru gives him the look, and a couple of people are like, we just stopped this thing, you're gonna make this worse. And he's like, no, this needs to go deeper, and this needs, we need more. And that's when he makes that empathy connection, and you see this is how deep it goes. And then now we see like that's the harm that needs to be repaired. And so you get that deeper, we understand what we did and we will start working toward change. Like
I just wish that when I did my diversity, equity, and inclusion workshops, that I could say something and some lights would go off on every white person's head across the planet. It was just such a gorgeous moment.
And visually I'm snapping all the things. Yes, I will definitely say I had a moment of, I love that this is sci-fi drama fantasy, because I would love somebody who has done harm. I mean, I'll just say what a difference a season makes, and a season baddie in quotes. Osira got offered the opportunity to be accountable, to take responsibility for her harm. Season 3, go back and watch it if you haven't. Like, there's a different conversation there. And so I just appreciate that. Yeah, we got this arc, we got this moment. I actually thought when Book did his Quajon, when I did the triangle of light on his forehead, like when Book activated his Quajanian touch and we saw 10C reflect, I was waiting for this moment of like, oh, are the Quajon empaths descendant? Like, I just had this whole moment of dissension around descendants about you make the same light pattern. You can, like, can Book feel you? Like, I have questions about the world root that they lost in Quajon, just all the ways that Book could recover and how the 10C could be a part of that. So I know that we started by talking about these justice arcs, and I don't mean to like propel into season 5, but super chunky, super interesting in terms of what we can be as community when we are focused on accountability and reparation and not punitiveness.
Mm-hmm.
is a question I have.
Mhm.
Yeah. So,
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
all right. So I know that's a whole lot of So let's get into the person who I'll just acknowledge on our table all season. We have not really been fans of Ruan Tarka. And so I want to keep us going in this propel line. We can still talk about justice and harm, but and I know in a previous Trek Table episode about episode 12 of Disco, we did talk a lot about this moment with Book and Tarka, and I didn't get it. I appreciate that we got to this understanding around the values and just how Book was trying to make Tarka assign Tarka his own value system or his own belief system. So I'm just wondering how we feel about what the end of Tarka was and like the way that Auntie Reno Book overpowered him, like all that stuff. My mom, I'm gonna come to you because
Because I'm the biggest fan. Okay, so first off, I want to say what a sweetheart that guy is. And also today I'm going to say his name on purpose. His name is Ruan Turner. I'm sorry. No. Uh I okay, so this is how I was feeling. I felt some weird thoughts about it. I kept seeing and I know this takes place in the future and they're not humans, but I kept seeing frankly a white guy who is the one who caused all the trouble and only one guy is going to jail. I mean, not jail, but you know what I mean. So he gets like, there's not really any real punishment other than I guess he doesn't live anymore. I think it's hard to be a good person, but Book is a good person and he is a loyal person. And he's the kind of person that he forgives mistakes because uh couriers are not good guys. They're generally not good guys. And a lot of his friends have screwed him over like several times and he's done the same thing to them. So I think that's just sort of how he friends. But like who gets to decide who is worthy of loyalty? Or of your own loyalty? I think you get to choose that. And Book for some reason thinks that Tony deserves it. I don't agree, but I'm not him myself. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm just gonna ask any crosstalk about Tarka before we move on because I feel like I'm ready to say goodbye to this character and be done. But I want to make sure I ask the table first. Claudia or Latisha,
I
any
feel Tarka
Tarka
did
thoughts?
what he was supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
He was the character he needed to be for this story. So I may not be a fan of him, but I feel like his inclusion in the narrative does make sense.
It's interesting. I was reflecting on traditional story arcs, the things that we usually get from stories, and how one of the things that I love about Discovery is that often we'll flip those traditional story arcs to give us something that is satisfying and exciting, but isn't reinforcing bad ideas about how people together. One of the story arcs that we've often received over the years is bad guy does bad things, but at the last minute does one good act, and then we as an audience are meant to feel satisfied. And I echo your feelings, Maya Mama. I did not want Rulan Tarka to get to do a big sacrifice at the end and die and avoid all accountability. It bothered me, right? So I like that General Ndoye was doing that. But then General Ndoye lived and was fine, and there were no
did not get into
consequences.
any trouble.
No
The president was
trouble.
like, "Don't do that again."
You got yeah, I was like, oh, so that was just satisfying. But also, I loved that Tarka does do a sacrificial move at the very end. He saves Book's life. He's the one that endangered Book's life all the way, though. So I'm like, you get no cookies for that. Also, did he really die, or did he transport to another universe? We'll find out in season 5.
And I want to say, yes, let's pick up what you just said about on this tip around justice and harm and accountability, restoration. Ndoye, I mean, I will say, when I rewatched and I saw Ndoye step up and be like, I'm the one who did it, just to watch the power of that and realize Disco again is giving us women in leadership. We're seeing Admiral Cornwell in seasons 1 and 2. Now we're seeing President Rillick. Latisha, I want to come to you and ask, what are your thoughts about this triad? Plus, you include Tarina, and you got a quad of like, badass women leaders in this show.
What I think is interesting is how each one of these leaders have a different specialty and a different focus and a specific way of looking at things. Rillick is like, Ndoye has a strategic mind. We need that specialty. She's a leader in her own right. Burnham is like, I can handle a lot and move on. And in early episodes, Ndoye, when she's talking in the book, was like, how is she? She's like, she's scared like the rest of us, but she hides it better. And that's a moment of respect that she's giving her. And you can tell, even if she's not doing what Burnham what she wants Burnham to do, you can tell that Ndoye respects her. And I love that point that they're talking, I think it's a previous episode, where Ndoye is like, hey, sometimes there's a wall and you have to make the tough choices. And Burnham's like, I acknowledge that you're right, that does happen. I'm just not there yet, but you're not wrong that does exist. So you have this like communication, this very direct communication with these various women leaders, which I think is incredible. And then also what I love is the lack of dismissing emotion. You have Rillick supporting Burnham silently when she thinks she's lost book. One of the first things when everything's all over that Burnham says is, oh, by the way, did your partner get off world? Is your family okay? It's this lovely moment of these women are not just their jobs, and other women are comfortable acknowledging that. And thus that creates this environment, I feel like, across the people that they're leading, that we are not just our jobs. We are people with personal connections, and sometimes we do have to put things in a corner, but that doesn't mean we dismiss what we've been feeling, because emotions are allowed at my workplace.
Emotions are invited to my work because they inform me in a way that is valuable to the work that I do.
Yes.
So I feel like, thank you for this. And we've talked at times about like sometimes Discovery feels like emo porn. Like, I'm just so happy to watch people have feelings on a screen for longer than 2 seconds, right? To watch us talk through this. So I guess my closing question and what you just said, Latisha, really kind of brings us to this moment. Like, Burnham can ask Rillick how she is. We get to see Burnham be a whole leader because her partner is not the whole of her world, and him doing his tomfooleriness does not take her down. Nobody asked her to. They ask her to recuse herself at moments more out of emotional care for her. But then even in those moments, after that ultimate, when we all thought he was gone, Burnham, that
Wow.
masterclass in that. So
I don't know for sure, but it might be the first time we've seen like a captain have that type of moment on the bridge in front of their entire bridge crew, and then bring it together and move up. But like, to actually have the moments and we see it, and then going back to work. But it's like, not like, oh, let me go to the side, let me do this in private. No, this is in public. And I respect that so much,
Now, I will say that there is another captain that got bad news, and he did not handle it as well. And that is James.
Kirk freaking out.
He did not
Killing
handle
the
it that well.
Klingon?
He did not handle it well. Well, yeah, like he just killed them all.
Yeah, like hardcore.
So so she handled it really well. Good for her.
She did. I love it. All right, last little topic. We're in a chunky thematics because this is the season finale. I'm just gonna give over and acknowledge all of the truth. All right, last question. I'm curious about this idea of found family making and found familying, and the way in which, we get Burnham in this whole person moment. Saru at the end of the season has Tarina. Also, Sukal is kind of his son brother thing. Saru's an ancient. Everybody's got world in a way. Everybody's got family in a way that I don't know that we expected. Them only all being here a year in the future. right? In the 3188 times. So
Mhm.
I guess I'm just curious as we close this out. Last observations about found family in this finale. What did you witness? What get one highlight maybe? What do you how do you want to close this out around what you're witnessing in the discovery world around found family? And Mama, I'm gonna invite you to go first.
I my thought is that do you think that maybe family is the overall theme of this entire show?
Mm,
I think maybe because it seems to
mhm,
be different aspects of family, but it all seems to be when it comes down to it, when it comes to the end, that it's about family. I think
mhm.
Vin Diesel would really like this TV show. Really, Dominic Toretto would really like this TV
Mm.
show.
I mean, let's talk about, is there a connection between the Fast and Furious universe and the Federation? I want to know. I want to know. Claudia, I'm going to come to you next. Any last thoughts on Found Family this season, or actually really in this episode? What resonated for you?
Well, I'm going to give a big final episode kind of observation. So, if you go back to the original Star Trek, they were writing about the future, but they were bound by the own limitations of their imagination. It was written by a bunch of white dudes. There was a couple of women who were let in there, but they didn't get to write as much as they could have, and so they wrote a future where women weren't captains. Where that was still a weird cultural artifact in the future. Thank goodness Star Trek got smart and got rid of that. They wrote that out. So now we have a future where we've moved beyond heterosexism. We have moved beyond enforced heteronormativity. And that allows for found family. That allows for the strength and power that comes from connecting with other human beings outside of really strict heterosexist forms that we're a little trapped in our contemporary society. So yay for the future. I like that Discovery is writing in a future that makes some sense.
Mhm. Thank you. Latisha, I'm going to come to you. Your last thoughts on Found Family in the season finale.
I think Tilly sums it up really nicely. She's like, I've got no regrets. I had friends who became family. I did some amazing things. I feel like in that moment she kind of sums up the feeling I get when I
Mhm.
reach the end of a season. And even her staying behind, she didn't say it, but I feel like this is a moment where she's like, you don't get it. I'm a
Mhm.
discovery officer. Impossible is what I do.
Mhm.
And I'm protecting my family this way. So like, Tilly's moment sums up found family for me.
Mhm. And I'll just close this out by saying, for me, I felt like Culber making the choice to not go to the 10C, making a choice to actively be with his fam. Because of, the joke we always make about the end of season 3 and Stamets' little tantrum, right? But just the reality that was okay, that this whole arc for Culber all season was about him coming into balance with himself, right? And so I just want to hold space for, like, I love that Hugh was like, I'm not trying to go anywhere. This thing just happened about Book. Not only was he grieving Book for Burnham, but we know he was grieving Book for himself, right? Like, they all developed these relationships. So, tearies. So I just want to say, like, yes, thank you to the overall Discovery production team, everybody. Thank you, everybody, for this amazing set of things. So,
Yeah.
so many things to talk about, but you know what? Like, that's all we got today. But that was a lot of amazing stuff, and that was
Woo!
our thematics.
Ah!
I know. Shall we all just can we just make a noise? Let's breathe out on some sound. Yeah. Yeah. Woo, come on. Season finale. All right. Those were our final thoughts for thematic season 4, episode 13, Coming Home.
And now we are heading into our final Trek table question for the finale. Question number 3. What was up with Bryson Kovic? Like they set up some Bryson Kovic stuff. Why was there no payoff? What happened?
Mira que regresa el maldito. Viene con las manos llenitas de piedra que no quiere arrojar.
there we have Bryce looking good, doing cool stuff on the bridge. But 2 episodes ago, we found out he's being transferred to go do stuff with Kovich, stuff that was more important than what they were doing with the 10C. What could be more important than finding out what's up with the 10C? They established an entire different character on the bridge crew. He got a couple of cute moments. It was great. What is up? I just need a moment, y'all. Help me out. There was no Bruce Kovich payoff. Were you bothered by? Was I the only one? Was it just me? Dela. Was it just me?
No, it was not just you. I thought that Bryce was gonna die. I was just like, is somebody gonna die and
Yeah.
Bryce gonna pop up? Like I was waiting for it, and then I was like, so where's Bryce? What's going on with Bryce?
But we see him run by real fast once with all the stuff at the end. I thought he was possibly going to kick it too, because you got to be sad about somebody dying, but apparently you don't. Latisha, what did you think?
Well, the other bridge crew, they mention him while they're leaving. They're like, "We're gonna go hang out." So I think it's a wait for season 5, and we're gonna figure it out. I wonder, but they have to have some questions for us to come back, I guess.
Maya Mama, what do you think? Because I got questions.
Well, I would say that number one, I just believe that was just set up for next season. And I believe in Star Trek. I have faith in them. This is
You have
long
faith in the
game
heart?
stuff. Yeah, and they were talking. Nice. That was really well done. I tip my badge to you. Yeah, I mean, because it's going to take more than just hydrocarbons and a light show to establish a relationship with 10C. They need a name. Number one, I think maybe that's what Bryce and Kovich are working on, just a name for the 10C. Like they're like sitting in a room and they're just like spitting out ideas.
Just brainstorming. I love it. So I'm ready for that Star Trek short. Showrunners of Star Trek Discovery, you've got faith in the heart from this entire crew from Trek Table. We believe in you. We're ready for season 5. I want more Bryce, though. I need a little payoff. I do. And that was the end of Trek Table questions for this season 4, episode 13, Coming Home.
And if you are enjoying Trek Table, why not hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube? Ring that bell and receive our notifications so that you can get all the new Trek Table content coming towards you. All right, we are near the end of the show. We have a final couple segments. This is one of my new favorites, Star Trek Shenanigans. We want to give our hosts and our guests a time to just call out the little Easter eggs, the little shenanigans that we see by showrunners, writers, artists, actors, everybody in this process. We see you, Star Trek, and all your little shenanigans. So here are a couple of thoughts from Star Trek Discovery Season 4, Episode 13. We've been talking about it all Trek Table. So here we go. I'm going to start first with my shenanigans. Number one, the Asian guy is the one who figures out the math, 4 + 9. Yeah. Dr. Harai has a lot of responsibility, but I just had that moment of like, why does he only get the math stuff? All right. So, all right. I mean, Reese, I know you do more than math, so I see you. All right. Number 2, President Rillick mentioned the Borg. Oh my gosh. But so it just makes me wonder what happened to the Borg. I'm just in that moment, right? Also, I want to say Tilly calls out to Cadet Karev, and it just made me have a Grey's Anatomy, Space Anatomy, space soap opera moment of like, there's a Karev in the future. What's up? Christina Yang, are you here? I'm looking for you. Okay. And then my last shout out is we got a Vulcan mind meld in this episode, and I just thought that was amazing. And all the pink clouds and Trina and the blood. She just got the little blood. So those are my shenanigans. All right. Thank you so much. Maya Mama, your list of shenanigans.
Okay, my list of shenanigans is, and I've said it before, why is everyone walking in a line so much? It's boss looking, but like, how is it possible that everyone walks with the exact same stride and distance all the time? That would be annoying. Also, how does General Ndoye lose confidence after participating in one of those big confident lines, I would feel like the biggest boss in the world. But I am also glad that she, survived her redemption. Also, there was a ship called the Nog, and I went,
Yeah. Aaron
Mm.
Eisenberg, come on.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right, thank you so much. Latisha, I'm going to invite you to jump in here. Your shenanigans for this episode.
Yeah, so multiple Voyager callbacks. First of all, there was like the ship called Voyager, there was her mentioning Voyager, but also the choice of we can do this thing and be lost for decades in a journey going home. I was like, it just it hit all Voyager for me. I was like, I'm Janeway. So that was great. Also, not shenanigan, but a call out of like all the non-verbal communication, because we have like the telepathic communication, the empathic, but we have a literal assistive communicative device that is being used that you type on to communicate messages. I was like, huh, dude, I recognize that. So yes, assistive communication devices for the win.
Nice.
Yes. And is that, I have a question later if there's a connect to Tendi and lower decks and the little thing. I don't know. So yeah, you've sparked some questions for me as a non-newbie, but not as deep as a cannon head sometimes. So thank you for that. All right. Final set of shenanigans. Lookouts, Claudia, to you.
Well, shout out for the Nog and also the Yelchin and the Mitchell. Star Trek is so thoughtful. I can tell that like that must be a nice place to work. Like those people seem to care about each other, because you don't do moves like this unless you actually care about each other.
Yeah.
They named the ship after the actor. This is an actor from the Kelvin universe. He's not even a part of their team, but they're like, hey, you played Ensign Chekhov, and we want to respect you, and we're naming the ship after you. Now, for a hot second, I thought that Mitchell might be Gary Mitchell from the original series, who was like best friends with Kirk and got crazy silver eyes. But no, I think that they're doing that for Kenneth Mitchell, the actor Kenneth Mitchell that we got to see play several roles last season and the season before. And also just a shout out for the ending that was so Fellowship of the Ring, where I was like, there's going to be 3 endings. We're going to see a lot of hugs. There's going to be a lot of slow motion hugging and drinking, and I was here for it. I don't mind, but it was full Fellowship of the Ring ending though.
Because even Tilly came back. Yes, and yes.
Just shout out to the showrunners. I know they know this because it's Star Trek, but shout out to them for knowing that the audience is genre savvy and knowing that like they do have a casual audience, but that a solid chunk of their audience will pick up on this and that and this and that, and being cognizant of it and being kind about it. Like it's like because you can kind of tell when someone's doing like fan service, but they're like being snide. This is like, no, we're giving you the things that we know that you're gonna look out for because we love you and it's fun. We like it too.
Yeah. And shouts out to Michelle Paradise, showrunner, and also who she wrote this episode. So, and we get a finale from Michelle Paradise. We get a finale directed. He directed these last 2 episodes, Ola Tunde Onsun's Omni. So, I also acknowledge we like the package because this team as soon as I saw it in the run sheet, I was like, yeah, this is going to be a solid finale. Cause I trust based on how y'all have treated us in the past. So, yes, I echo what we just said. We could go on and on and on. But those were our Star Trek shenanigans for the season finale of Disco season 4.
Hey, do you want to give a special shout out to the Trek Table friends assembled in the chat and our live audience while we're recording this episode? Y'all have been amazing.
We want to say thanks to all our friends listening on the podcast. Want to support us even more? Hit that like and follow button.
We here at the Trek Table strive to hold space for Black, Indigenous, Brown women of color, and we want to amplify and highlight the work of women of color content creators, community builders, and world shapers. For our signal boost today, we want to amplify our friends at Women at Warp. Their latest podcast episode is entitled Channeling Discovery. This is episode 188, and it is out now. Check it out. Kennedy, Aliza, and Sarah, and their special guests, me as we dive into Discovery Season 4, Women at Warp Style. I'm so excited I got invited to that convo. You all know I geek out, and we're so excited that we get to be a community with so many different women who talk about Star Trek Discovery. So check it out, Women at Warp, episode 188 via their website, or find them where you get your podcasts.
Hey, everybody. Quick in the booth. Want to let you know that I have my podcast, Interspectional, and I'm actually having a Kickstarter. So my Kickstarter is going all throughout the month of April, and it ends right before Strange New World premieres, shockingly. So please find Interspectional Season 2, where I try to have conversations a lot like Truck Table, where we go deep into content. We talk about the things that really matter to us, and then find a way to conclude on how we can move forward with the lessons that we've learned. So I look forward to hopefully you joining me on my podcast. Again, please look at my Kickstarter if you can. And everyone, just let's move into good space together.
Latisha, do you want to tell us where people can find you?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find Interspectional. I have a website, www.interspectional.com. So it's spelled like intersectional, but with a P in the middle. So that's probably the easiest way to remember it. You can also find me on Twitter at Interspectional and Instagram, Interspectional Pod. So let's keep the conversation going.
And those were the signal boosts for today. All right, we are back. And as is the case at the end of every episode, Trek Table likes to go around and round up our things, all of our final thoughts for this episode that we have been diving deep into. And I'm sure you already know, audience, because you've been listening to us all day. Season 4, episode 13, Coming Home. Maya Mama, I'm going to ask you to go first for us. Your final thoughts on this season finale.
My favorite part of this episode was the part where the elves get on the boat. And no, I'm kidding. I gotcha. I really liked that everything ended and that it was nice. That I felt at ease. It wasn't like, oh man, we just got a distress signal from dun 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 the USS Enterprise. It was just like, yeah, like it's been a really long few years for these folks, and they're taking a break. And I support that.
I love it. Thank you so much. Claudia, I'm going to come to you. Your final thoughts on this Disco season finale, season 4.
Well, you know me, I'm always saying Discovery rewards a rewatch. So I am excited to watch this again. I feel like they gave me a beautiful journey that I'm going to enjoy revisiting.
Love it. Love it. Thank you so much. I will go next, and then we'll ask our guest Latisha to close us out. I guess the final thought I have is I can't believe it's over. And I'm so grateful that we got 13 episodes. I miss 15 episodes. I miss 20 episodes of these characters that I love so much. And I'm so excited to see what happens. And I do feel well cared for. I know where Mama Burnham is. I know where Book is going. I have a sense of what's up with the ship. And I feel like Rillick is ready to, Earth is now part of the, like I feel like all my buttons got closed, at least for today. And that feels more resonant in a way, because I also appreciate that we got to see so much of this emotional journey, and I'm curious next season what we're gonna get. So I feel like I don't have the heartfelt emotional final thoughts today, because I had all the feels. I watched it, I cried it out so many times in this finale, experiencing it. So yeah, I just feel with so much gratitude, and I just want to say thanks to all the Trek Table folks, hosts, and everybody for your insights this season. I realize how much I am excited for all of us to talk with each other about this show. So my final thought is just super deep gratitude for everybody who's been digging in with us for season 4. All right, Latisha, I'm going to invite you. Can I invite you to share your final thought?
Yeah, my final thought is about both emotion and that connection, and again going back to the whole like to the found family concept. And what I think is amazing that we've gotten through the series and specifically the season is how your family and those you are connected with can you can separate sometimes. There are traumas and things that happen that cause you to be strained, and that reconciliation is possible, and that coming back together even after you've been apart is possible, and how important it is for us to reach out to each other even when we're going through grief, and also try not to cause harm when we are in pain. And like what I love about Discovery is that they the story that was told was saying it is normal for you to cause someone pain when you are in pain. It happens, but try your best not to do it. But we do
Mhm.
understand that does happen. And like that's so humanizing and honoring that we as humans will make mistakes, but that doesn't mean we're not redeemable. Doesn't mean we can't be loved. Doesn't mean that people can't care for us, and it doesn't mean we can't restore what we have broken.
Mm-hmm. And I just want to appreciate that, you that the dogs bark to agree. Like it just felt like the Universal stage manager hit a cue to say all of the spirits say yes. So I thank you all so much. Thank you for everybody's thoughtful investigation in this. And just to say, these are our final thoughts today for Star Trek Discovery Season 4, Episode 13, Coming Home.
And if you want to continue to support Black, Indigenous, women of color centered Star Trek content, then we want you to join us on Patreon. Your support would mean a lot to us as we come to the end of Trek Table's deep dive into all 13 episodes of Star Trek Discovery. Visit patreon.com/TrekTable.
And we want to say thank you all so much for joining us today on the Trek Table. Don't forget, you can get first look at the Trek Table questions, inside scoops, and more when you sign up for our mailing list at trektable.com.
Find Trek Table podcasts on iTunes, Google Podcasts, and wherever you get your podcasts.
Like and subscribe to this channel so that you can get more Trek Table into your algorithms.
Like and subscribe to us on Instagram at Trek Table and on Twitter at Trek_table.
Yes, and our gratitude section would not be complete if I did not stop and say thank you so much to this amazing Trek Table assembled today, holding it down with us. I want to say thank you, Claudia Alick. Thank you, Maia Mills Low. And thank you, Latisha Jones. Thank you all for your insights, your sharing, your willingness to come on and just get into this with us. And I want to say thank you to everybody who's been listening and watching today. We're so grateful for you. As we start to wrap up, we want to remind ourselves that we were holding Trek space for anybody dealing with the emotional hydrocarbons while engaging in spring cleaning, decluttering, or familial anti-hoarding interventions. We want to hold Trek space for people reaching justice through gaining context. We're holding Trek space for folks watching those last few moments of the episodes a few times. It's okay. We did it too. And finally, we want to hold Trek space for people dealing with your emotions and while giving grace to others. The Trek Table executive producers are Alison De La Cruz and Luzviminda Jadiwala. Production coordinator, Brandon Chang. Stream manager, Ariana Michelle. Audio head, Melanie Lopez. And social media manager, Isil Borlasa.
Trek Table is brought to you in part by Outside In Theater. For more information about Outside In Theater, go to outsideintheater.org or their YouTube channel. The link is below in our show description or on their Twitch channel at twitch.tv/outsideintheater.
Thanks to Dr. Deborah Carter, Doc Zulu, and Nancy Yap, and our partners at Visual Communications.
Much love and thanks to East West Players and our content partners at Calling Up Justice. And last but not least, much love and thanks to our tech patron, Manhur Jadiwala.
Trek Table is a service mark of De La Projects, LLC.
All right, we want to say thanks so much for joining us at this Trek Table. Let's go ahead and close out this ritual one more time. Go ahead and take that closing breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. Check that TrekTable.com website for our upcoming episodes because we'll be holding Trek Space for you till then. Have a great week. We'll see you soon.
Side